Deep in the heart of the Korthic Empire, in a laboratory that orbited a dying star, the final adjustments were being made to their greatest creation. The creature lay on a metal table, 12 feet of engineered death, waiting to be awakened. Its creators called it the Apex Destroyer, but the technicians who worked on it simply called it the Beast. Dr. Vorthik studied the readings on his screen. Every measurement was perfect. The creature's bones were stronger than starship hull plating. Its muscles could lift 10 times what any natural being could manage. Its claws could cut through steel like paper. Most importantly, its brain had been enhanced with combat programs that made it smarter than their best generals. "Begin the final tests," Dr. Vorthik ordered. The beast's eyes opened. They glowed with a cold blue light, showing the artificial intelligence now running through its enhanced mind. It sat up slowly, testing its new body. Each movement was perfect, calculated for maximum efficiency. The first test was against training dummies made of the same materials as enemy armor. The beast destroyed them in seconds. Its claws went through the metal like it was made of soft clay. The second test was against combat robots programmed with the fighting styles of every known species. The beast learned their patterns and defeated them all. The final test was against live subjects. A squad of Korthic soldiers, volunteers who thought their power armor would protect them, entered the testing chamber. They lasted 47 seconds. When it was over, the beast stood in the center of the room, not even breathing hard. "Perfect," Dr. Vorthik said. "Send word to the fleet commanders. The weapon is ready." Far away, on a small mining world called Kepler 442b, Sergeant Danny Walsh was having a very different kind of day. He was leading his squad on what was supposed to be a routine patrol around the human colony of New Pittsburgh. The morning was quiet, with only the sound of mining equipment echoing across the rocky landscape. Danny was 32 years old and had been a soldier for 8 years. Before that, he had worked construction back on Earth, building bridges and skyscrapers. He had joined the Colonial Marines because the pay was good and he wanted to see other worlds. He had not expected to end up fighting aliens. His squad was small, just 12 Marines total. They were good soldiers, but they were equipped for peacekeeping, not warfare. Their weapons were designed to handle pirates and smugglers, not an alien invasion force. "Sergeant, you getting anything on your scanner?" asked Corporal Amy Brooks. She was carrying the squad's heavy plasma rifle, a weapon that could punch through most armor. Danny checked his equipment. "Nothing out here but rocks and mining gear." "Why?" "Just had a weird feeling, you know. Like we're being watched." Danny looked around the barren landscape. The mining colony was built in a valley between 2 mountain ranges. The miners had carved deep tunnels into the rock, pulling out rare metals that Earth needed for its expanding fleet. 3,000 people lived here, mostly families who had come looking for a better life. "Probably just nerves," Danny said. "Command said the Korthic fleet is still 3 days away." That was when the sky started falling. The first sign was a bright flash on the horizon, then another, then dozens more. Danny raised his binoculars and saw them clearly, alien drop pods burning through the atmosphere like falling stars. "All units, this is Sergeant Walsh." He spoke into his radio. "We have incoming hostiles. Multiple drop pods approaching the colony." His radio crackled with responses from other Marine units scattered around the planet. Most of them were reporting the same thing. The Korthic invasion had begun early. "Brooks, get that heavy weapon ready," Danny ordered. "Taylor, Johnson, Davis, set up a defensive line. We need to buy time for the evacuation ships." Private Ben. Taylor was the youngest member of the squad, barely 20 years old. "Sarge, there's got to be hundreds of those pods. We can't fight that many aliens." "We don't have to fight them all," Danny replied. We just have to slow them down long enough for the civilians to get out. The first drop pod hit the ground about a mile away, sending up a cloud of dust and debris. Then another landed closer. Then another. Danny could see alien soldiers pouring out of the pods, their weapons already firing at anything that moved. The Korthik were 7 feet tall and covered in natural armor plating. They carried energy weapons that could burn through most human defenses. Danny had fought them before, during the border conflicts. They were tough, disciplined, and they didn't take prisoners. "Here they come," called out Private Katie Johnson. From her position behind a mining vehicle, the first wave of Korthik soldiers came over the ridge at a run. There were maybe 30 of them, moving in perfect formation. Danny's squad opened fire, their bullets sparking off alien armor. A few of the shots found weak spots and dropped their targets, but most of the aliens kept coming. "Concentrate fire." "On their weapons," Danny shouted. "Aim for the glowing parts." The plasma rifle in Amy Brooks's hands charged up and fired. The bright beam caught a Korthik soldier center mass and dropped him instantly. But there were too many of them. For every alien they killed, 2 more took his place. Private Joe Martinez was operating the squad's missile launcher. He fired 3 rockets in quick succession, each one finding its target. The explosions scattered the alien formation, but they regrouped quickly and continued their advance. "We're not going to be able to hold them," Amy called out during a brief. Lull in the fighting. Danny was about to respond when he saw something that made his blood run cold. Another drop pod was falling from the sky, but this one was different. It was larger than the others, and it was heading straight for their position. The pod hit the ground with tremendous force, creating a crater 20 feet across. Steam rose from the impact site, and Danny could hear mechanical sounds coming from inside the pod. Then the pod cracked open like an egg. What came out was not a Korthik soldier. It was something else entirely. Something that had been designed in a laboratory to be the perfect killer. The beast stood 12 feet tall and was covered in metallic armor that seemed to be part of its skin. Its arms ended in claws that were longer than Danny's combat knife. Its eyes glowed with artificial intelligence, and when it moved, every motion was perfectly calculated for maximum deadliness. "What is that thing?" Private Mike Davis whispered. Danny didn't answer. He was too busy trying to figure out how to fight something that looked like it could tear apart a tank with its bare hands. The beast looked around the battlefield, its enhanced mind analyzing the tactical situation. It identified the human soldiers as targets and began walking toward them. It didn't run or hurry. It didn't need to. It knew that nothing these primitive beings carried could hurt it. Danny raised his rifle and fired a full magazine at the creature. The bullets hit its armored hide and bounced off harmlessly. The beast didn't even slow down. "Fall back to the mining complex," Danny ordered. "Maybe we can find something there to fight this thing." But even as he said it, Danny knew they were in serious trouble. The beast had been designed to destroy armies, and all he had was 11 scared Marines and whatever equipment they could scavenge from a mining colony. The real fight was about to begin. The beast took its first step toward Danny's squad, and the ground shook under its weight. Up close, the creature was even more terrifying than it had appeared from a distance. Its metallic armor wasn't just decoration. It was part of its body, fused with muscle and bone to create something that was part animal, part machine, and all nightmare. Amy Brooks steadied her plasma rifle and took careful aim. She had been trained to hit targets at long range, and she rarely missed. The bright beam of energy struck the beast's center mass, where the armor looked thinnest. The plasma blast should have burned through steel, but it only left a small scorch mark on the creature's chest. "Direct hit, no effect," Amy reported her, voice tight with fear. The beast turned its glowing eyes toward her. Its artificial intelligence analyzed her position, weapon type, and probable next move in the space of a heartbeat. Then it moved. Danny had fought fast enemies before, but nothing had prepared him for this. The beast covered 30 yards in less than 2 seconds, moving with the grace of a natural predator, but the precision of a machine. Amy tried to track it with her weapon, but it was already too close. The creature's claws swept through the air where Amy had been standing. She threw herself sideways, rolling behind a chunk of mining equipment, just as the beast's attack destroyed the rock she had been using for cover. The claws didn't just cut through the stone, they turned it into powder. "Brooks, move!" Danny shouted, firing his rifle at the beast to draw its attention. But the creature wasn't distracted by his bullets. Its enhanced mind could track multiple targets at once, and it had identified Amy as the most dangerous threat because of her heavy weapon. It stepped around the mining equipment like it wasn't there and reached for her with claws that were designed to tear through starship armor. Amy rolled again, but there was nowhere left to go. The beast's claw came down toward her head. That was when Joe Martinez fired his rocket launcher. The missile hit the beast in the shoulder and exploded in a ball of fire and shrapnel. For a moment, Danny thought they might have heard it. Then the smoke cleared and the beast was still standing. Its armor was blackened, but not broken. Worse, it now looked angry. The creature turned toward Joe with the same terrifying speed it had shown before. Joe tried to reload his launcher, but the beast was already moving. It crossed the distance between them in 3 long strides. Joe was a good soldier. He had been in the Marines for 6 years and had fought in a dozen battles. But when the beast's claw swept toward him, all his training couldn't help him. The creature was simply too fast, too strong, and too smart. Danny watched in horror as Joe was thrown 50 feet through the air. The young Marine hit the side of a mining truck and didn't get up again. "Fall back," Danny yelled. "Everyone fall back to the complex." His remaining squad members retreated toward the mining buildings, but the beast wasn't done with them. It had analyzed their formation and identified their weak points. It moved to cut off their escape route, forcing them to split up. Ben Taylor and Katie Johnson ran toward the main processing plant, while Mike Davis tried to reach the equipment yard. Danny and Amy headed for the administrative building, hoping to find better weapons or at least a place to make a stand. The beast followed Danny and Amy. Its combat algorithms had identified Danny as the squad leader, making him a priority target. It stalked them through the mining complex like a metal-plated predator, moving from shadow to shadow despite its size. "There," Amy pointed toward a maintenance shed. "We can hole up in there." They ran for the building, but the beast was faster. It leaped over a pile of mining equipment and landed in front of them, blocking their path. Danny found himself face to face with 12 feet of engineered death. The creature's eyes studied him with cold intelligence. Its enhanced brain was analyzing his equipment, his stance, his probable combat capabilities. Danny could almost see it calculating the most efficient way to kill him. Instead of running, Danny did something the beast's programming didn't expect. He charged straight at it. The creature's claws swept down toward him, but Danny had spent years working construction. He knew how to duck under swinging objects and how to get close to dangerous machinery. He rolled under the beast's attack and came up next to its leg. Danny pulled out his combat knife and stabbed it into what looked like a joint in the creature's armor. The knife broke. The beast looked down at him with what might have been amusement. But Danny's attack had served its purpose. While the beast was focused on him, Amy had circled around behind it. She fired her plasma rifle at point-blank range into the back of the creature's head. The energy beam struck the beast's skull and actually did some damage this time. The creature staggered forward, sparks flying from damaged circuits in its brain. For a moment, Danny thought they might have found a weakness. Then the beast's backup systems kicked in. Its head turned completely around, rotating on its neck like an owl's, and it grabbed Amy with one massive hand. "Let her go." Danny shouted, but he knew there was nothing he could do to help her. The beast lifted Amy off the ground and studied her like she was an interesting specimen. Then it spoke, its voice a mechanical rasp that came from speakers in its throat. "Humans are weaker than expected," it said. "This will be simple." But before it could hurt Amy, an explosion shook the owl. Ground, then another. Danny looked up to see ships descending from the sky, human ships with Earth colonial marine markings. "This is Lieutenant Susan Clark of the USS Denver," came a voice over the radio. "All Marines in the area, report your status." "This is Sergeant Walsh," Danny replied. "We're under attack by some kind of alien bioweapon. It's already killed one of my men." "Stand by, Sergeant. We're coming to assist." The beast heard the radio transmission too. Its enhanced hearing could pick up frequencies that humans couldn't detect, and it was already receiving new orders from the Korthic fleet. It dropped Amy and looked up at the approaching ships. "Priority targets detected," it said in its mechanical voice. "Engaging aerospace assets." The creature reached into a compartment in its chest and pulled out what looked like a small cannon. It aimed the weapon at the nearest ship and fired. The energy beam punched through the ship's armor like it was made of paper. The vessel crashed into the mountains, burning wreckage scattered across the rocks. All ships' evasive maneuvers. Lieutenant Clark ordered, "That thing has anti-aircraft weapons." But the beast was already firing again. Its targeting systems were perfect, and the human ships weren't built for combat against ground-based weapons of this power. 2 more vessels went down before the rest could climb out of range. Danny helped Amy to her feet. She was hurt, but still alive. "We need to get out of here," she said. "That thing just shot down 3 ships like they were toys." "No," Danny said, looking at the beast as it tracked the remaining ships with its weapon. "We need to stop it." "How?" "Our weapons don't work against it. It's too fast, too strong, too smart." Danny watched the creature reload its anti-aircraft weapon with smooth mechanical precision. Every movement was calculated for maximum efficiency. That was when he realized something important. "It's not too smart," he said. "It's too predictable." "What do you mean?" "Look at how it moves. Everything is perfect, right? Every action is the most efficient possible solution to whatever problem it's facing." Amy stared at him. "That's what makes it dangerous." "No," Danny said, picking up a piece of broken concrete from the ground. "That's what makes it vulnerable. It only knows how to do things the right way. It doesn't know how to improvise." He threw the concrete chunk at the beast. The creature's reflexes were perfect. It caught the chunk and crushed it to powder without even looking. Its combat algorithms had identified the thrown object as a projectile and responded with the optimal countermeasure. "See?" Danny said. "It's like a very smart computer. But computers can be beaten if you know how to think outside their programming." Amy looked at him like he was crazy. "You want to fight that thing with construction tricks?" Danny smiled grimly. "I've been demolishing things a lot bigger than that since I was 18 years old. The trick is knowing where to hit and how hard to hit it." The beast finished destroying the thrown concrete and turned its attention back to them. Its glowing eyes studied Danny with renewed interest. Its enhanced brain was trying to analyze this human who showed no fear, who had attacked it directly, and who seemed to have some kind of plan. For the first time since its creation, the Apex Destroyer encountered something it couldn't quite calculate. Human unpredictability. Danny picked up another piece of debris, but this time he didn't throw it. Instead, he started walking toward the beast, a chunk of concrete held like a club. "Come on, then," he said. "Let's see how well you're programming." Handles a construction worker who's having a really bad day. The beast watched Danny approach with its perfect artificial eyes. Its combat computers were running thousands of calculations per second, trying to understand why this human was walking towards certain death. Every tactical program in its enhanced brain said the human should be running, calling for help, or at least taking cover. Instead, Danny Walsh was advancing with nothing but a chunk of concrete and what looked like a plan. Beast raised its claws and struck with machine-like precision. The attack was perfect, the right angle, the right speed, the right amount of force to kill a human in a single blow. But Danny wasn't where the claw expected him to be. Years of working construction had taught Danny to watch for falling objects, swinging cranes, and moving machinery. He had learned to read the signs that told him when something heavy was about to move. The beast's attack was powerful and fast, but it was also predictable. Danny rolled to the side and swung his concrete chunk at the beast's knee joint. The improvised weapon shattered against the creature's armor, but Danny had already moved on to his next attack. He grabbed a length of steel rebar from the ground and jammed it between the armor plates on the beast's leg. The rebar bent, but didn't break. More importantly, it got stuck in the joint, interfering with the beast's movement for just a moment. That moment was all Danny needed to get behind the creature. The beast spun around, moving faster than any living thing should be able to move. But Danny had expected this too. He had worked around industrial equipment that could crush a man in an instant if he made one move. He knew how to stay just out of reach of dangerous machinery. He picked up a handful of loose gravel and threw it at the beast's glowing eyes. The creature's defensive programs kicked in automatically, raising its arms to protect its optical sensors. While the beast was blocking the gravel, Danny grabbed a heavy wrench from a nearby tool cart and swung it at the creature's ankle. The wrench bounced off the armor, but Danny had aimed for a specific spot, a place where he could see cables running, underneath the metal plating. The impact didn't break anything, but it made the cables spark. The beast's left foot twitched as damaged circuits sent wrong signals to its artificial muscles. "You're fighting it wrong," Amy called out from where she was taking cover behind a mining vehicle. "Our weapons can't hurt that thing." "I'm not trying to hurt it," Danny replied, dodging another perfect claw swipe. "I'm trying to break it." The beast's enhanced brain was starting to have problems. Its combat algorithms were designed to fight against soldiers who used standard tactics and conventional weapons. But Danny wasn't fighting like a soldier. He was fighting like a man who had spent 14 years figuring out how to take apart things that weren't supposed to come apart. Danny spotted what he was looking for: a hydraulic crane used for moving heavy mining equipment. The crane was old and probably hadn't been maintained properly, but it was still functional. More importantly, it was positioned right where Danny needed it. He ran toward the crane, and the beast followed. The creature's programming identified the crane as potential cover and calculated the best angle of attack to destroy both the human and the equipment. It leaped through the air, claws extended, ready to tear through metal and flesh alike. Danny hit the crane's emergency release button. 20 tons of metal counterweight dropped from the crane's arm just as the beast passed underneath. The creature's reflexes were perfect, and it tried to catch the falling weight, but even its enhanced strength couldn't handle that much mass moving that fast. The counterweight slammed into the beast's shoulder, driving the creature to the ground. Armor plates cracked, and sparks flew from damaged circuits. For the first time since the fight began, the beast looked less than invincible, but it wasn't finished. The creature's backup systems activated, and it began to stand up despite the damage. Danny could see exposed wiring where the armor had cracked, and an idea formed in his mind. He grabbed a fire extinguisher from the crane's emergency kit and sprayed the white foam directly into the beast's damaged circuits. The chemicals worked, meant to fight fires in electronic equipment, but they worked just fine for shorting out alien technology, The beast's left arm stopped working properly. Its enhanced muscles twitched and spasmed as damaged circuits sent conflicting signals. The creature tried to grab Danny with its good arm, but its balance was off now. Its perfect coordination was failing. Danny didn't give it time to adapt. He kept moving, using his knowledge of the mining complex to stay one step ahead of the creature. When the beast cornered him near the ore processing plant, Danny opened a valve that sent a stream of corrosive mining acid across the creature's path. The acid didn't hurt the beast's armor, but it ate through the rubber seals around its joints. Without proper sealing, dust and debris began getting into the creature's mechanical parts. Its movements became less smooth, less perfect. "This is impossible," Amy said over the radio. "He's actually hurting that thing." From his position in the equipment yard, Mike Davis was watching the fight through his rifle scope. "Sarge isn't trying to destroy it," he reported. "He's treating it like a machine that needs to be shut down." That was exactly what Danny was doing. Every piece of equipment had weak points, places where wear and tear could cause failures, spots where the wrong kind of pressure could break important components. The beast was incredibly advanced, but it was still a machine. And Danny had been breaking machines for most of his adult life. The creature's artificial intelligence was having serious problems now. Its tactical programs kept trying to predict Danny's next move, but the human wasn't following any recognizable combat patterns. He would attack joints one moment, then target sensors the next, then do something completely unexpected, like dumping lubricant on the ground to make the beast slip. Danny led the creature into the main processing building, where the heavy machinery gave him more tools to work with. He turned on a massive rock crusher and then baited the beast into attacking him near the machine. When the creature lunged forward, Danny rolled aside and the beast's claw got caught in the crusher's gears. Machine screamed as it tried to process something harder than rock. Sparks flew, and the beast's claw was mangled beyond repair. The creature pulled its damaged arm free, but now it was down to one functioning weapon. "Getting tired yet?" Danny asked, breathing hard, but still moving. The beast didn't answer. Its vocal systems had been damaged when Danny had thrown welding sparks at its throat earlier in the fight. But its glowing eyes showed that its artificial intelligence was still working, still trying to solve the problem of this impossible human. Danny could see that the creature was slowing down. Not much, but enough to matter. Damaged circuits were interfering with its enhanced reflexes. Broken seals were letting debris into its joints. Shorted systems were causing its artificial muscles to work against each other. He was winning. Somehow, impossibly, he was actually winning a fight against a bioweapon designed to destroy armies. But the beast had one more surprise. As Danny approached what looked like a killing blow, the creature's chest panel opened to reveal a weapon that Danny hadn't seen before. It was smaller than the anti-aircraft cannon the beast had used earlier, but it was pointed directly at him. "Human," the beast said, its voice crackling with static from its damaged vocal systems. "You have exceeded all combat parameters, but you will not survive this." The weapon began to charge up, energy crackling around its barrel. Danny realized he had about 3 seconds before the beast fired something that would probably vaporize him. He looked around desperately for cover, for a weapon, for anything that might save him. That was when he saw it, the main power line that fed electricity to the entire mining complex. Danny had worked with high-voltage systems before. He knew how dangerous they were, and he knew exactly what would happen if that much electricity hit something that was part machine. As the beast's weapon finished charging, Danny grabbed the power line with both hands and tore it free from its mounting. The results were spectacular. 50,000 volts of electricity arced through the air as Danny held the severed power line. The beast's weapon was almost fully charged, its energy building to the point where it could burn through solid steel. But the creature's enhanced intelligence had not calculated that its enemy would electrocute them both. Danny threw the live power cable directly at the beast's damaged chest armor, where exposed wiring made the creature vulnerable. The electricity hit the alien bioweapon like a lightning strike. The beast's entire body convulsed as massive amounts of electrical current coursed through its cybernetic systems. Its artificial muscles locked up, its enhanced reflexes failed, and its perfect coordination disappeared in a shower of sparks. The weapon in its chest exploded as its power cells overloaded. Danny was protected by his insulated boots and gloves, standard equipment for anyone working around mining machinery. The beast had no such protection. Its designers had made its armor conductive to help with heat distribution, never imagining that this feature could be turned against it. The creature collapsed to its knees, smoke rising from its damaged circuits. But it wasn't finished yet. Its backup systems began activating, trying to restore power to critical functions. The beast's artificial intelligence was still working, still trying to find a way to complete its mission. Danny didn't give it the chance. He grabbed a heavy sledgehammer from a nearby tool rack and began systematically destroying every damaged circuit he could see. Each blow sent more sparks flying as he targeted the creature's most vulnerable points. The beast tried to stand, but its left leg wouldn't support its weight anymore. Too many circuits had been fried, too many systems had failed. It fell forward, catching itself with its one remaining functional arm. "Systems failing," the creature said, its voice distorted by static. "Initiating emergency protocols." A panel opened in the beast's back, revealing a small transmitter. Danny realized the creature was trying to send a signal to the Korthic fleet, probably calling for backup or reporting on human combat capabilities. He brought the sledgehammer down on the transmitter, smashing it to pieces. "No phone calls," Danny said. The beast turned its glowing eyes toward him, and for a moment, Danny thought he saw something like confusion in its artificial gaze. The creature's combat programs were designed to account for every possible battlefield situation, but they had no response for an enemy who fought with construction tools and electrical cables. "You are not a soldier," the beast said. "No," Danny agreed, raising the sledgehammer again. "I'm a construction worker. And you're a building. That needs to be demolished." He brought the hammer down on the joint, with the beast's head connected to its neck. The impact damaged the creature's main processing center, causing its artificial intelligence to stutter and glitch. The beast's movements became jerky and uncoordinated. As its enhanced brain struggled to function, Danny could see that the creature was trying to adapt, trying to reroute power around the damaged systems. But every time it started to recover, he hit it again in a different spot. He targeted sensor clusters, power junctions, and mechanical joints with a systematic approach. Of someone who understood how complex machines worked, the beast made one final attempt to fight back. Its remaining claw swept toward Danny with desperate strength, but the attack was clumsy now, unguided by the creature's failing computer systems. Danny dodged easily and brought his hammer down on the beast's elbow joint. Something important broke with a sound like snapping cables. The beast's arm went limp, all power and control lost. The creature was now completely helpless, unable to move or fight back. "Primary systems offline," the beast said, its voice getting weaker. "Combat effectiveness at 0%. Mission failure." Danny stood over the fallen creature, breathing hard from the effort of the fight. The beast's glowing eyes were dimming as its power systems shut down one by one. But it was still alive, still dangerous if it found a way to repair itself. "Amy." Brooks emerged from her hiding place, her plasma rifle trained on the beast's head. "Is it dead?" "Not yet," Danny said. "But it's not getting back up either." He looked around the damaged processing plant, noting the tools and equipment that were still available. The beast was incredibly tough, but it was also incredibly complex. Too many redundant systems, too many backup programs, too many ways for something to go wrong. We need to make sure it stays down, Danny said. Help me find some cutting torches. They worked together to completely disable the beast, cutting through every power cable they could find and removing all the major processing units. It was slow, careful work, the kind of systematic dismantling that Danny had done countless times with broken construction equipment. When they were finished, the beast was nothing more than an empty shell. Its artificial intelligence was gone, its enhanced muscles were powerless, and its perfect coordination was a thing of the past. The galaxy's ultimate weapon had been reduced to scrap metal by a construction worker with a sledgehammer. "This is Lieutenant Clark calling all ground units," came a voice over the radio. "What's your status down there?" "This is Sergeant Walsh," Danny replied. "Threat neutralized. The alien bioweapon is down. Confirmed neutralized? That thing shot. Down 3 of our ships." Danny looked at the dismantled remains of the beast. "It's not shooting down anything anymore, ma'am. We've taken it apart completely." There was a long pause on the radio. "Sergeant, did you just say you took apart the alien superweapon?" "Yes, ma'am." "It wasn't as tough as it looked. Just had to find the right weak spots." Lieutenant Clark's voice carried a note of disbelief. "Stand by, Sergeant. We're sending a recovery team to secure the area and document what happened." Danny sat down on a piece of debris, suddenly feeling the exhaustion from the fight. His body ached from dozens of near misses, and his hands were cut from handling sharp metal and electrical cables. But he was alive, and the beast was not. Amy was studying the creature's remains with professional interest. "How did you know it worked?" "The electrical attack, I mean." "I didn't," Danny admitted. "But I figured anything that was part machine would have problems with uncontrolled electricity. It's the same principle as using an electromagnetic pulse against computers." "But you could have been killed." "Yeah, but I was going to be killed anyway if I didn't try something. Sometimes you have to take the dangerous option because it's the only one that might work." Mike Davis and the other surviving squad members approached cautiously. They stared at the dismantled beast like they couldn't quite believe what they were seeing. "Sarge," Mike said, "that thing was designed to fight entire armies. How did you beat it by yourself?" Danny thought about the question. "It was designed to fight armies," he said finally. "Armies follow rules. They use standard tactics and conventional weapons. They do what their training tells them to do. And you don't? I'm not a soldier by training. I'm a construction worker who learned to fight. When I see a problem, I don't think about the right way to solve it. I think about what will work, even if it's crazy or dangerous." He stood up and looked at the smoking remains of the beast. That thing was built to be perfect. Perfect armor, perfect weapons, perfect intelligence. But perfect things are predictable. And predictable things can be beaten if you're willing to think outside the box. Lieutenant Clark's ships were landing nearby, bringing medical teams and engineers to study the beast's remains. Danny knew there would be reports to file, questions to answer, and probably some kind of investigation into how a single Marine had defeated the galaxy's most advanced bioweapon. But for now, he was content to sit in the ruins of the processing plant and watch the sun set over the mining colony. 3,000 civilians were safe because he had refused to give up, refused to accept that the beast was unbeatable. The Korthic Empire had built the perfect weapon, but they had forgotten that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is not the one with the best technology or the smartest tactics. Sometimes it's just someone who refuses to quit. The recovery team that arrived 3 hours later found Danny sitting next to the dismantled remains of the beast, using a mining laser to cut through the last of the creature's power cells. Lieutenant Susan Clark stepped out of her transport ship and stared at the scene in disbelief. The alien bioweapon that had terrorized the galaxy's military planners was scattered across the processing plant floor in hundreds of pieces. Armor plating, cybernetic components, and artificial muscle fibers were sorted into neat piles like spare parts in a junkyard. "Sergeant Walsh, I presume," Lieutenant Clark said. Danny looked up from his work. "Yes, ma'am. Just making sure this thing doesn't have any hidden restart systems. I've seen too many machines that looked dead come back to life when you weren't expecting it." Clark's engineering officer, Commander Pete Williams, was scanning the beast's remains with advanced sensors. "Sir, these readings are incredible. The creature's entire nervous system has been systematically destroyed. Every major power coupling has been severed,